Welcome to Herf Zone Live, the most eclectic cigar show on the web, of which some smoke cigars and some who don't. Either way, we bring you the best content weekly. I want to thank every single person out there for tuning in tonight on this wonderful, beautiful Tuesday night. If you're watching from YouTube, thank you so much for subscribing and everything. And if you're watching on Facebook, don't forget to go over to YouTube and like the video and subscribe so that you can be alerted when I post other videos other than Herf Zone Live as well. We have a wonderful show lined up tonight. Tonight we got Bob the Cigar Guy, and we also have his son Chief. So, this is like a legit interview. We're gonna find out more about them. He's more than just some happy-go-lucky, loud, yelling guy out there. So we're gonna have a really good show tonight. I do want to apologize because last week I just kind of slipped me and I got busy and stuff to do the drawing for last week's show. So what I'm gonna do is when I go live tomorrow, I'm going to also combine those names with the names for the people commenting tonight. And that way, there's actually going to be 4 chances to win some shirtless Mike swag here. So without further ado, though, I am going to bring on our awesome guests. They are in the green room right now, all the way from Travelers Rest, South Carolina. Please be warned, they might be a little bit loud, but that's okay. So please adjust your volume accordingly. And here it is. We got Bob the Cigar Guy in Chief. What's going on, brothers?
Yes, Steven's the loud one. I'm the quiet one. I'm Bob the Cigar Guy. This is Chief. And we are so happy to be on your show, Mike. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity.
Man, I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you guys for coming on and all that good stuff. So we're going to find out more about Bob the Cigar Guy in Chief. I'm not going to ask the same old questions you've been asked before. But before we get started here, I'm going to go ahead and light this Hoya Black. And I got an awesome new lighter that I won from Best Cigar Prices. It's like a little kettle.
That's a dope cigar lighter. We've got a lounge here that's got one like that. It's got a bigger base on the bottom. But I watched a guy singe his eyebrow off about a year ago using that thing. So it's probably a good thing that I don't have one because I have singed my eyebrow off once before.
And what about your beard? You got that to worry about.
I've not singed the beard yet, not with cigar smoking. But it's a possibility.
Yeah, that's definitely an accomplishment right there. All right, so we're going to get it right into the interview. Well, before that, though, I know, Bob, you're not smoking because you're not, kind of a little under the weather, so you're not trying to smoke. Chief, What are you smoking tonight?
I'm joining you right now in a Hoya Black, but I dropped this thing right before I lit it up, and it just exploded with the wrapper on me. So there's a chance that it might not make it through, but I've got backups. I've got another Hoya. This is just a regular Antonio, and I've got some other smokes here in the studio that if I need to break into them because we're having that good of a time, we can break into them.
Awesome. Yeah, I got a Hoya Red just in case. Normally I just do one cigar on the show, but I always go back and watch it right after. So, but yeah, we're going to get started with this interview. So I'm going to get started with you, Bob. You served in the Marine Corps. How long were you in and what was that experience like?
I did one tour. I was 3rd Recon out of Okinawa. It's Marine Corps changes you. It leaves a mark for the rest of your life. It teaches you about doing something bigger than yourself. And so there's a lot of that I still carry today, and it's been 30 years.
Nice. And so what was it before, during, or after that you met your wife? Tell me about how you two met and how long have you been married?
We have been married almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years this April 13th. I met her. She was a friend of my sister's. Then went high school together. It was after I got out of the Corps. And I just saw her and fell in love. And I couldn't let her get away. And so I got blessed. And she has helped me be the fellow that I am now. I am thankful for that, is for sure.
Awesome. And so, Chief, what was it like growing up with Bob as your dad? Was he really strict?
Oh, Lord.
Was he relaxed? What was your experience like?
No, I both of my parents are pretty tough. I didn't get to drive myself to either of my proms. My parents drove me to both of them because they didn't want to relinquish the power. But no, I mean it was a good childhood. I mean I'm fortunate enough to be part of the 50%, or it's probably less than 50% now, that got both their parents all the way through childhood. So um, definitely a unique childhood growing up. Born in Florida, raised most of my raising life in North Carolina, and then finished out high school in South Carolina, and I've been in South Carolina ever since. So it's been a whirlwind, but been great.
Awesome. And so, Bob, before becoming a YouTube sensation, you were, and you still are, average consumer smoking, what you could afford until you built all the connections. Exactly how long have you been smoking cigars?
Wow, good question. I started smoking cigars in the Marine Corps, but they were just the run of the mill, not so good, 5 in a pack, not humidified. They were actually the Antonio and Cleopatra Grenadiers. They were some green cigars that they were so rubber you could tie in a knot.
Hmm.
And they were hideous. But what I did was I would smoke them, and then I would use those to most of the commands and orders I would give have a lot of great expletive and dirty words in them, and then I would use a cigar just to punctuate and point that out. It just looked cool. Clint Eastwood did it, so I thought I'd do it too. Then much later in life, I started smoking premium cigars, and then that was, my goodness, probably almost 30 years ago, 25
Hmm.
years ago, that I really got into starting to smoke cigars.
Awesome. And so, and you obviously been into cigars longer, but Chief, how did you get into cigars? Was it a direct influence from your dad? And do you remember your first cigar?
I don't remember my very first cigar. That's something, like, looking back, I kind of wish I knew. Like, I wish I would have paid that much attention to it. There's a couple cigars that I can remember being like early in my cigar smoking career, so to say. And one of them is a cigar that I am hoping to get in on a Drew Estate virtual that with Pedro, because when he does his Drew Estate virtuals, you can get the manifesto, and Dad got a couple manifestos early on the Drew Estate Diplomat app, and we smoked them. And I know that I did not appreciate that cigar as much as I should have. But I think one of my really first cigars that the oldest cigar that I can remember really smoking was one that Dad had gotten for me, was a Gurkha Cellar Reserve. So
Nice. And you guys work at the same place at the car mill, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. So, what's it like in the car manufacturing business?
well, it's everything that you would expect to be a car manufacturing plant. Um, it's yeah. At first, it was like, whoa, it's funny when people see BMWs, they're like, whoa, that's a BMW. It must be riding high, because we work at BMW, we build BMWs, and so many people in the area that we live in work for BMW. You see BMWs every second or third car in our area. So it's kind of like lackluster now, but early on it was cool to see all these $80,000 cars rolling down the line, and now it's like, that's another BMW.
And Bob, you work third shift, don't you? You guys kind of work opposite shifts.
I do. They have to keep us separated because they're afraid we're going to take over. Um, so you can only have so much Finley at any time in the plant, but we just kind of keep things moving. But you do get kind of jaded because you see the cars all the time. We run 450, 500 cars a day
A shift.
on a shift. Like Steven will run 450, 500. I run 450, 500. There's another plant on the property that does the same thing. We slate to run almost 500,000 cars a year. And so with doing that, there's a little bit of routine, but there's also some experience you get kind of really learning the ins and outs of the vehicles and what parts you're responsible for.
Awesome. And so, Bob, you've been on YouTube for about like 4 years now. I went back and I checked, to make sure I was accurate. But putting out, videos and doing cigar reviews, how exactly did the whole Bob the Cigar Guy YouTube channel start?
It's his fault, and it's Mama's fault, and it's a guy named Al Peter's fault. Back when Save the Leaf was fighting the FDA, we protested in D.C. What was that, 4 years ago? I was doing little public service announcements, little stupid videos. I did some videos on my road trip there, and I was never planning on doing cigar reviews. I was just an average cigar smoker. That's all I was just a regular fella. And so I was just helping out and volunteering. Another guy named Al Peter was volunteering, and one night after one of the events, we were all sitting around a table at 4 o'clock in the morning smoking cigars with all the manufacturers, and they handed me a cigar, and I said it tasted like, the cold draw tastes like pineapples, and the manufacturer was surprised because that's what they use in their punch, and nobody ever picked that up before. Well, Al Peter said, I'm going to send you an Opus X Lost City. I want you to review it on Facebook. And I told him he was ridiculous because I've never smoked a $30 cigar. That's a waste of time. And so between him and my wife, who just consistently encouraged me to do it all week, I said, fine, go ahead and send it. Well, he sent 5 cigars. So I did one a week. So by the time I did the second cigar, somebody had sent me 5 more. By the time I did the 5th cigar, somebody had sent me 10 more. And that's how it was going. And I was just doing one video a week. And when we ran out of cigars, we were done. Well, Chief said, we should get on YouTube. And I said, that will be ridiculous. We're not going to have any subscribers. We're not going to have anything else. And it's going to be kind of embarrassing that nobody's going to watch after we put it on YouTube. I don't even know how to do it. And so Steven said, I will edit the videos and I will put them on YouTube. That's where editor-in-chief came from. That's why it's called Chief. That's where he got his nickname from. And so Steven was right. He put us on there, and we've just been ourselves. Now Steven is really on board, and he does a lot of stuff in front of the camera as well as behind the camera. And we're rocking up to almost 5,000 subscribers, over 3 million minutes viewed. So it's kind of humbling.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. I was looking at, just the, amount of views you had on your channel altogether. And I'm like, wow, it's going to take some time, but I can't wait to one day get there. The next thing I was going to ask was, back exactly when was it when you guys started working together on YouTube? So basically Chief's kind of been there the whole time, editing and everything for you then.
Absolutely. And then he really picked up on his own, 2 years ago now?
It'll be 2 years in June.
Well, you tell that story.
So when we originally started, everything he said is right. I said, instead of putting these on Facebook, because posting videos to Facebook wasn't like a norm back then. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like, I'll post these and my friends can see it. It wasn't like a bunch of the pages, how they work nowadays. It's just 4 years ago. It's crazy how far, Facebook and technology has all changed in just a short time span. But I said, you should really think about getting these on YouTube, because if you make a certain amount of subscribers and time watched, you can, get paid for this. I never had any ambitions or dreams of ever being sponsored by anything, but I thought, ad revenue, and that was before the cigar apocalypse with YouTube and, demonizing cigar content creators and alcohol content creators. And so I just said, hey, I'll help you out, and we'll shoot these on my phone, and then I can edit them together on my computer, and we can post them up to YouTube. So it started off 2 or 3 videos a week, and then he got to the point where he learned iMovie on his phone, and he started putting them there and then uploading them. And then my son was born, and I took a step back for a little while to help out, being a dad, first time dad, and help out my wife being a first time mom. And then the Drew Estate had reached out to us and said they wanted us to come up to the Kentucky Barn Smoker. And Dad said, hey, I want you to get back in and come with me and shoot this video and do your thing. And so I did that. And then I stepped back away for a while, did a couple challenges. I never really wanted to be on screen. I kind of wanted to hold this mysteriousness of who's the guy behind the camera. But then we went to the Florida Barn Smoker, and on the way back from the Florida Barn Smoker, Dad said, "Hey, what do you think about doing a live show? A lot of people keep asking for you to be on the channel and do stuff." And I said, "Well, it's never going to take off. It's never going to be anything. Everybody's going to get bored of watching it." And Dad said, "Well, let's give it a 6-week run." And I said, "Let's do a 4-week run." And he said, "Fine. After 4 weeks, we'll see what we're doing." And after 4 weeks, we were holding pretty steady at like 15 to 20 viewers. And for us, that was success. And since then, I just started season 3 in January. And, we're holding strong at, 30, 40 people watching the show at a time. And it's broadcast strictly on YouTube. Just because that's our home, and I like the way the YouTube analytics work better than the Facebook analytics. But when we have big guests on, like Jeff Borshowitz or Bobby Newman, Nicholas Melillo, those get cross-streamed on both channels so that we can, get their following to see as well.
Yeah, definitely. And shoot, y'all blew past like a few of the questions that I had, but yeah, I definitely understand. YouTube analytics are super easy to read. What I kind of do, because I wanted, my channel's still pretty new. I'm under 200 subscribers now, but I always just add up what it is on my like page, on my personal page, and on YouTube all together, and it's just the views just keep going up like over like the couple days after it's done. So, I mean, after all this time on YouTube, though, did you guys ever think that you would have the type of reach that you guys have now at this point?
Absolutely not. I'll probably do a lot of answering because I know he's probably going to get in the coughing fit. So you just step in whenever you feel you need to. But when we first set out, we decided we were going to have a 100 subscriber giveaway. And that was huge. I think we gave away a Calibri lighter and a cutter. And it was like oh my gosh, we hit 100 subscribers. It's crazy. We don't know 100 people who smoke cigars. And I said, well, I think we can push this thing to 1,000. And I thought the roof of 1,000 was our limit. I thought that there was no way, there weren't a bunch of cigar content creators out there. And it looked like for the most part that, the 2 or 3 out there that were doing really, really well with the multi 10,000 subscribers were kind of keeping everybody in house. And then there was a little bit of a boom where we experienced a growth of 1,000 subscribers within like a 5-month period. I mean, it was crazy fast. And we've since told ourselves that any limit that we put on ourselves isn't, unachievable. So it's just, we don't know the time frame. Sometimes the subscriptions go up at an astronomical rate, and it's all that YouTube algorithm and things like that. So
yeah, because Oh, go ahead, Bob.
It's not that we want to be YouTube superstars. That's not why we do this. We really want to be a place where people can come and they can feel encouraged, that they can just chill and relax, and they can just take a pause, because the world is crushing down on everybody, and they just need a safe place to just come and chill and hang out. And the only reason we want to grow is so that we have a bigger influence, so that we can reach more people with that idea and that message of, you're valuable. If cigar smoking is your thing, let's hang out and just chill out for a while and let the world just pass us by for a minute, just so that we can have this pause or this reset and run in this treadmill. And so there are things that we could do that would grow our channel, but it would not be organic and it wouldn't be who we are. And so we choose not to do some things that probably, if we were treating this like a business, that we would have to do, because that's the bottom line. Our bottom line is not exploding and growing and being superstars. Our bottom line is making a difference with the people that choose to spend some time with us. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and shoot, every time I watch you guys' videos, it's it's always encouraging. It's sometimes I may not watch the whole thing if it's a little longer, but just that couple minutes of chilling with Bob the Cigar Guy in Chief. You can't watch your videos without leaving with a smile on your face. So
that's awesome.
Definitely. And so you guys, are kind of, like me, you're just simple people. You work with what you got. Recently, you took the plunge on building a studio out back where you guys are currently broadcasting from. You guys just got done building. Tell me about the process of building the studio and exactly how long did it take to complete?
Well, the time frame is still not done technically. I don't know if we'll ever be done with the studio. I think we'll get it to a point where somebody would say, "Oh yeah, that's a completed studio," and then we'll tear something down and redo. I don't think we've ever been the kind of people to sit there and say, "This is a great finished product. Let's let it stay finished." But the start date for the studio to getting in the dry was about 5 months. So walls up, roof on, things like that, where we could actually be in here, smoke cigars. We just got actual dedicated power out to the studio about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks ago.
Thanks to Travis and Brittany Acorn.
They came up from Louisiana and helped run power out from the house to here because it was astronomically cheaper to do it ourselves than to pay a company and come out here and do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so we try to, with the channel, everything we do, whether it be travel or, expenses or things like that, we try to have the channel pay explicitly for it. So we'll do fundraisers or swag drives or giveaways or things like that with raffles to try to drive, ticket sales and things like that so that, we can afford those and not have to pay out of pocket. But we had, saved up channel money to be able to pay for the power. And Travis Acord said, "You know what? I'm coming up there. I'm going to help you guys. We're going to do this at a fraction of the cost," which was great because now we have the ability to put that towards travel. If, like Barn Smokers, if they open up this year, we get to go to Barn Smokers and travel and hotels. But this has been a workable studio for about 8 months now. But now we're to the point where we have our studio within the barn. We've got a functioning locking glass door that, separates the studio from the barn. And we've got lights, dedicated power. Internet gets installed tomorrow. We have ventilation. We have an air conditioner. We have a heater, and so that we can keep all of our cigars and things like that out here.
Well, it was about a year. It was right before Christmas, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that we shot our first video out here. And we had a roof, and we had a floor, and we had sticks for walls. We didn't have any plywood across the walls. So a year ago, we were working on the bones, October, November, I guess. So
Nice. And are you guys both involved together on reviewing cigars, or is it just Bob? What's your process when you actually review a cigar?
I do a lot more reviewing than Steven does. I'm pushing and prodding, trying to get him to do a couple reviews a month or a couple reviews a quarter, but he's a lot more comfortable being, just chief and just chilling and hanging out. When I review cigars, I'll do my research first. I'll usually, some of the places I go to is Half Wheel. Half Wheel is a real good resource, but I don't read what the review is. I just read what the binder, the filler, the wrapper is. I read, the size, the Vitola, maybe some special information. But then I just do the review. And in doing the review, it's usually 9 out of 10 times it's the first time I ever smoked the cigar. And so you're getting the review fresh. I'm not smoking 1 or 2 cigars ahead of time, writing down my notes and getting my ideas. You're actually catching it as it comes. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's great. And sometimes it makes no sense at all. So that's just part of the process. And then we just finish up usually with an encouraging message and we're dead. So
awesome. Yeah, I like your reviews, because you just tell it like it is. It's not like you're trying to be some fancy schmancy, just you.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Bottom line. Before COVID happened, you guys had a massive opportunity to go to Nicaragua and visit Drew Estate's factory. How was that experience for you guys, and what was your favorite part about the trip?
Oh man, it was. Exactly once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm not sure we'll ever be, afforded an opportunity to do that. Obviously, nothing's ever promised, and you don't know what the next day holds. But to be able to go last year, luckily before the whole COVID lockdown happened and
We're the last ones.
the world kind of just got shut down. It was great. Just being able to see, we've been to barn smokers and getting to see the process of that tobacco here in the United States. Florida was very intuitive in the where you see the seedlings and the seeds and then the tobacco in the field and then picking the leaves and getting to feel that for yourself and going to the barn and getting to see it, strung up and hung and to dry. And then we've been in Kentucky where you get to go and you actually see all of the Kentucky fire cure tobacco hanging above you. And they have a barn that you get to set fire to in the bottom and start the smoking process for another crop of tobacco to be smoked. And then Louisiana, we've seen with, the Perique process with shoving it down in the pappy barrels. But when you're in Nicaragua, you get to see the hands that make it. And I think that's the most outstanding thing for me, which is the people. That's the best part of that whole entire trip is just the people. And getting to understand what really goes into making one of these from the standpoint of manufacturing and seeing that handmade process and the age and the time. Drew Estate has a factory warehouse the size of 2.5 football fields that is floor to ceiling for 75 feet of just bundles of tobacco. And you see tobacco that's been sitting there for multi-years, and then you go back into the back and you see these pilones that are 2,000, 3,000 pounds of just tobacco that's fermenting. And you get to see the people and the artisanship, the craftsmanship that really goes into that. And for me, that was the big thing. It's fun to hang out and smoke cigars and drink Flor de Caña and Tonya, but getting to see the people is my big thing.
Awesome. And you guys actually blended cigars down there, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So tell, were you guys pleased with the outcome of your cigars that you blended for yourselves?
I made the best Hoya blend ever. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. They actually said it. They said it was probably the best blend ever. It just, well, it was amazing. Now I have not had my Drew Estate blend yet, but my Hoya blend is just.
I didn't cheat on my Hoya blend like somebody else did. When you get to sit there with the factory spokesperson of Hoya de Nicaragua and say, hey, what would you say? And then they rearrange your tobacco in different ways. And then they tell you, hey, there's actually a tobacco that none of the other people here are going to be able to get, but we'll go get it for you and you can use it. So his Hoya blend was really good. It was really good, actually. My Hoya blend wasn't it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the greatest. I would definitely knock it down to like a $5, $6 cigar. It would probably be Hoya's cheapest blend, for sure. But my Drew Estate blend turned out really good. I used a lot of tobacco that you see in the Liga Privada line, and so I kind of took a different approach and I put it in the Churchill. So the flavor intensifies as it smokes, and for me, I kind of went off of what the tobacco smelled like pre-burn and after burn, and what I really enjoyed about those. You really can't taste the tobacco as you're selecting tobacco unless you just have that great of a vast knowledge of tobacco and what it tastes like individually. So my Drew Estate blend turned out pretty darn good.
Yeah, it did.
Awesome. And so we're gonna move on here, and we're gonna get politically incorrect for a few minutes. Not politics, but just politically incorrect. Even though it is politically incorrect, you guys are very open about your faith. A lot of people don't know that in my past, we were going over that, I grew up in church. I kind of no longer go for personal reasons, but I'm very much a believer. And so how do you guys balance out being cigar guys and being men of faith? And what kind of opportunities have cigars provided to get in discussion with people about the Lord?
You want this one?
I'll start. You finish? Okay. Cigars are. I don't see a conflict between cigars and being a man or a woman of faith. I do know that there are different cultures within our cigar culture, and I know that sometimes when we speak on our faith, especially on Chief Talk, because it's a real open forum, there are some people say, well, if you're talking religion, I don't want to be around that, and I understand that, but we believe in our faith in a way as Christians that you don't have to know what page in the Bible something is said. You just need to know that you ought to live it. And so we lead by example. We live, and if somebody asks questions and we answer, we don't ever force or cram or whatever. But cigars are amazing. They're not just a bunch of rolled up dried leaves that we set fire to. They are a lubrication for conversation, whether it be talking about somebody's past, talking about somebody's history, talking about faith and religion, talking about politics, talking about whatever's going on in the world. It just is, it's a leveling field. It brings people of very high affluence and people of very meager means together in a way that I don't see any other way. It brings people together. It just is a great equalizer and communicator. And so we use just our lives and who we are to encourage and to enjoy a smoke with somebody. And if somebody wants to do a Bible study, or if somebody wants to hang out and talk about faith, we are more than happy to saddle up and talk about that. And if it's not your thing, that's okay too. Every year, the First Lady, my wife Sarah, she does the Christmas story. And in the beginning of the Christmas story, say, you know what, this may not be something for you. If you're not a believer, you don't, and this is something that you don't believe in, or is not a part of your faith, that's all right. And so it's not like we push or press or anything like that.
It's always for us been, I don't know. I went to school, to college to actually do ministry. And while doing that, because I thought I was going to do pulpit ministry, I actually ended up understanding and feeling a lead to taking the pulpit ministry education into the workplace and out into the world, being the hands and the feet, so to say. And so we've never been people who of faith who believe that hellfire and brimstone is the best way to go. I think there are certain instances where speaking hard truths are necessary and evident, but it's easier to catch a fly with honey than it is with vinegar. Now, with that being said, the gospel is counterculture. The gospel is offensive, just because the world is against the Christian belief, by the tenets of. But with cigar smoking, there's something that's been really on my heart heavy over the last year and a half, with using a platform where or a lifestyle where you don't see a whole bunch of Christians or vocal Christians, and so I take this as an opportunity, that God's given me an opportunity to speak with people who either don't believe, don't want to believe, or need to be bolstered in their faith. And again, it's not a I'm going to shove it down your throat type Christianity. It's a I'm going to come alongside of you, and if you have questions, I'll happily answer your questions. And if you if you don't enjoy it, it is a safe space where nobody's going to bash you over the head. But I found it's been really easy just to kind of intermingle faith and cigars, and the opportunities, like sitting in cigar lounges and we're talking about something and somebody asks, what'd you go to college for? And I talk about my ministry degree or whatever it be, and that opens up an hour and a half long conversation about the gospel that I never would have had if it wasn't for smoking cigars.
Oh, exactly. And kind of when I was still, going, to like a local church or whatever, like after church, because, me and some friends, we would get some cigars sometimes. That's when I was kind of first getting really into cigars. And I went from like, the more of a word of faith type church that name it and claim it prosperity type gospel. And then eventually, I kind of went in because of, doing research and everything. I kind of went over to like more reformed church, Calvinistic or whatever. So, when it comes to like Christian liberties and stuff like that, like, reformed people of the reformed faith, they're like, they're, it's, they basically go by with what Paul said, all things are permissible, but not everything is beneficial. It all just depends on your background and what you are willing or whatever. But one more thing on the controversial subject, but what do you guys think about sipping saints? Like what's your views on believers and drinking alcohol?
Yeah.
I mean, just like you hit it with, right on the head, with, all things are permissible. And Paul does a great job taking and diving into that. Yes, everything is permissible. We're not held by law anymore. Jesus came to fulfill law. He didn't abolish it, but he did come to fulfill law. So there are things that we are not held and bound by, that many, legalistic types, kind of what you were going into. You find a lot with like the Pentecostal churches, who are more legalistic bound in that sense of, no tobacco, no alcohol, things like that. And then you do get into the situations where, you have to kind of gauge your audience. If I bring a brother out here to smoke cigars with me, but I know that he's a brother who has been saved from his alcoholism, I want to make sure that all this alcohol is out the way. And maybe if it doesn't get out the way, maybe if he says, "Oh no, that's fine, leave it up there. I'm far enough in my addiction that I know not to touch it anymore." I'm not going to crack one open and
be a stumbling block.
Correct, to lead them to stumble.
Right.
So we are completely down with being Christian, sipping saints, like you said. Christians who do drink alcohol. Obviously, drinking in moderation is key. That's through drink, but don't let it lead to debauchery. And so that's something that we hold to. And again, it's the same thing with cigars as well. If it's going to cause your brother or sister to stumble, just don't do it.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
It's you can, the Bible speaks about strong drink in a number of ways. Be filled with the Holy Spirit, do not be filled with wine. Guard your mind, all these other things. If you're consuming alcohol for the point to where you're not in control of your faculties, I don't think that is an acceptable thing to do as a Christian. Like Stephen said, if you're around somebody and they're not as strong in their walk that it would cause them harm, then as a brother of them, that I love them, that they're my people, why would I want to cause them harm? So I would choose to abstain or refrain. I was in ministry for 10 years. I was youth ministry most of the time, and I was supplying pulpit supply. And in every church we were at, I had to sign a covenant. And in that covenant, I couldn't consume alcohol, I couldn't consume tobacco, and I couldn't gamble. And that was their rules, not biblical rules, but rules of the church, for the leadership of the church, to make sure that we weren't a stumbling block for anybody. I chose to sign that, and I chose to do that. I chose to refrain and abstain from it just so I could have the opportunity of ministry in the places I was. Whether I agreed with it 100% or not, I agreed with the responsibility and authority of the church.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely an interesting subject, and it's just nice to know that if you are in Christ, you got freedom. You know what I'm saying? And if it's something that doesn't personally, turn into an addiction for you, it's something good to, it's good to keep in mind. And God wants us to to enjoy life to the fullest, and and God created all these things for us to enjoy. So we're gonna get off the controversy. The next thing, it might be a little controversy, I don't know, but I know, Chief, you just released your top 10 cigar list, and I don't know if you have done one this year. I was trying to look at your YouTube channel, Bob, but I didn't really see anything. But what is you guys' opinion on top cigar of the year lists?
For me, I don't know. It's some of them I take with a grain of salt. I think I talked about this on Chief Talk a little bit this past Thursday, with like Cigar Aficionado and the way that they rank their cigars. And one of the things I actually saw today, I think it was posted in a Drew Estate Facebook group, or maybe it was the Saka Squatch Facebook group, but it was like people are kind of frustrated that companies, bigger companies, Cigar Aficionado, Cigar Snob, cigar magazines, they kind of just shuffle their top 10 every year. It seems like every year they have 6 or 7 of the top 10 that were in there the year before, and maybe a cigar that's 10 years old. My opinion on top cigar lists, the way that I do mine is I write down every cigar of 20, like let's say 2020, because I just released 2020. Every cigar that I put on that list was a first for me in 2020. Some of those cigars are exclusive 2020 releases. Some of those cigars are not exclusive 2020 releases. The L40 is on there, and that's been around for years. But that was the first time that I ever had the opportunity to smoke that cigar. But the Bauhaus, that's on my top 20 or my top 10 list, and that was a cigar that was released last year. So my thing is, like, I kind of look my top 10 list or top 25 list of years I feel should be kind of catered to either cigars that were released in that year or first time smoking those cigars in that year. Because if I just made a top 10 cigar list of all time, there's a good chance that for many years my top 10 list is only going to be reshuffled 3 or 4 different cigars over 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. You got anything to add, Bob?
I do. Cigar lists are for entertainment only, almost. If you find a cigar reviewer or a cigar periodical that when you smoke the cigars that they say taste like this or that taste good and you agree with them, then they're right for you. So you can look at those kind of like as a guide, but pretty much it's up to you. It's your money, it's your palate. If it's not number one in your list, then it's not number one. It doesn't matter what anybody else is smoking because you can't experience that cigar experience like they did. You have a different palate, you have a different environment, you have different thought processes going through your head. And so that cigar that captures your heart is your number one. It doesn't matter if when the Andalusian Bull came out as number one, half the people thought it was the greatest thing in the world, and the other people thought that it was just a pay to play. I enjoyed the Andalusian Bull, but I don't know if I would have counted it as my number one. So I look at the list and I say, that's interesting. I'll give it a try. But a lot of the number ones that I've had from different lists have come up short on what I like. So I will be putting out a list this week, and my list, I'm going to tell you right now, it's just my list. I'll deal with construction, I'll deal with smoke, I'll deal with burn and draw, and those things you can quantify. But flavor, that's up to you. It's what you love. If a cigar reviewer tells you that this cigar tastes like crap because it's too peppery, or this cigar tastes like crap because it's too leathery, or it's not creamy enough, it's not their responsibility to tell you what tastes bad. It's their responsibility, in my opinion, to tell you what they taste, and you choose if it's bad or not. And so,
I definitely agree.
But cigar reviewers sometimes will get in their head and they'll drink their own Kool-Aid, and they'll think that their opinion is more important than anybody else's. Their opinion is important to them, and it should be, but it should not be overarching because I said it. Because I bought a cigar guy, said this is the best cigar. If you don't like it, you're wrong. That's wrong. If you don't like it, then I'm wrong for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, entertaining.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's a well balanced, opinion on that subject. It's mostly for entertainment. It's all subjective, all that. For me, it's not like an end all be all. Like I don't base what I'm gonna smoke off of it. I just, out of curiosity, I've been smoking for over 12 years now. So out of curiosity, I look at all the lists, especially the big cigar aficionado list,
right.
And it's always interesting. Sometimes I'll smoke that number one and see if I agree with that or whatever. But it's mostly just small talk for people to debate amongst themselves in the cigar community. So out of the myriad of different cigar websites, publications, whatever you want to call them, what are some of your favorite places that release the lists, like say like Stogie Press or Half Wheel, etc., those type of things? Like what are some of your favorite lists that you like to watch and look out for?
I'm definitely a big fan of Cigar Dojo. I like their lists. I agree with a lot of their lists of the cigars that they release. I also like that it's a conglomeration of a couple different people smoking cigars. Boston Jimmy with Stogie Press does a great job. Obviously has a tremendous palate, with, just the ability to pull flavors and, the experience. And, he's somebody who just looks the part to be wise enough to smoke cigars. I mean, he's got the whole Gandalf the Grey thing going for him right now.
Right now he just looks crazy, but when he's he's haircut and all that, he looks wise. But now it looks crazy.
That's funny.
That's my boy, though. I love him.
That's funny.
But I honestly, I guess the ones that I really enjoy reading the most, I guess they're not the major publications, but just seeing friends who release their top 10s as well, just to see.
Right.
Especially friends who are close to me who I share smokes with, kind of like Gary Brooks said,
right.
How he and I share a lot of the same palate. He went and commented on a couple of the cigars that I posted in my top 10. And one of them, which I think is a pretty easy to find cigar, is the Menelik. And I think he said he hadn't tried it yet. So I'm really excited to see what he thinks of Foundation's Menelik, because I didn't go into this year thinking that Foundation Cigar would have 2 cigars in my top 10. Everybody who watches Chief Talk knows that I am a Drew Estate fanboy to a T. So that's why there were multiple Drew Estate cigars and Hoya cigars in my top 10. But, it's fun to see the people who are the closest to me to see what their top 10s are, because I share smokes with these guys all the time. I give them smokes, so it helps me to better be informed of what to hand them the next time that I send them something, or to hand them in person or whatnot. So,
yeah, awesome. We're gonna keep this moving here. Not too much more to go. I always prepared so many X amount of questions, and sometimes we, I don't want to have it go like 2 hours or whatever. So
I got all night, brother. I got all night.
I understand, but still, I don't produce a 2-hour show, so I have to make sure I ask what's relevant. So, Bob, you not only review cigars and make awesome videos, but you have partnered with Janice Coffee Roasters to create your own Bob the Cigar Guy Coffee blend. How did that partnership come about, and how has the response been?
Well, let me start off by saying that we started off with the Bob the Cigar Guy blend, the perfect pair. Then we ended up with a holiday blend, which is the perfect pair for pumpkin pie, which has a slight pumpkin pie kind of flavor to it. And then we have, for the people that don't like to blink, we have Chief's Blend, the Berserker Bear, which is high caffeine, high speed, low drag, full of flavor with no gritty or harshness. So we've got 3 things, and all 3 of those, when you buy any of the bags, $1 of each bag goes to Cigars for Warriors. I just wanted to, because I love Cigars for Warriors, I want to throw that out. But
awesome.
we met Shad Bates at Barn Smokers. We hung out in G and Hall real well. We were with Fabian and him a little bit, hanging out at the hotel. And then one day he contacted me and he goes, "Hey, I want to send you I want to make a coffee for you." And I said, "You're ridiculous. Nobody's going to buy the Cigar Guy coffee." And he pressed and pressed and pressed. And I said, "Okay." He sent some samples, and we didn't find something that was perfect, and I was kind of hesitant anyway. I was still feeling like it wasn't going to go, and so we just kind of let it die for 5 or 6 months. And then Shad contacted us again. Steven said, "We got to try it," and I said, "Okay, let's do it." And so he sent us some coffee, and I got to tell you, it is the best coffee I've ever had. I'm not saying that because it's got my name on it, that's for sure. It is so full in body and flavor and dark and deep, but it has no bitterness, no grittiness, no harshness at all. It is so smooth, but usually when you have a smooth coffee, you don't have a flavorful coffee. But when you have a flavorful coffee, you don't have a smooth coffee. I don't know how Shad did it, but he has made it in a way where it goes well in a drip. It goes well in a cold press. It goes well in a French press. It doesn't matter how you make it. You could do it with rocks in a bucket, I think, and you would have great coffee. It is just amazing, and it's fast shipping. He makes the batches right then and there. T-nights he roasts. He doesn't keep it stored on a shelf and send you old coffee. It's brand new, fresh every time. We have some people that buy our coffee pretty regular, and we have sold a good amount of coffee. It's one of those things that we're just surprised that people choose to want to support us in that way. And I drink the coffee all the time. The Berserker Bear, I have to quit drinking at about 5 o'clock at night, or I won't go to sleep, because that stuff will keep you rocking and rolling.
It's funny.
Woo!
When we tried Berserker Bear, we had such a small sample to try, and a small sample that we made, and I didn't really get a full kick of the caffeine when we tried it because we tried such a small sample. But I just bought myself a burr mill, which is a different kind of coffee grinder that doesn't heat up the beans. It's very bean scientific.
Oh, technical.
But I bought it and I made myself a full cup of coffee just the other day, and I had forgotten how much of a caffeine punch there was in that thing. And the reason we named it Berserker Bear, I named it Berserker Bear, was because when Shad gave he gave me 6 beans, and I chose 1 through 6, which one I chose, and I ended up choosing, no, it was 1 through 4. Sorry, I chose number 4, and he was like, "Oh, this is this. It has more caffeine." Blah 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 blah. And so I was like, caffeine. What's something that caffeine makes you do? It kind of makes you go crazy, makes you a little happy, a little giddy. And I was like, what's a cool name to make you, have, happy, laughy coffee? No, I can't do that. It kind of makes me feel like I'm a little berserk. Oh, berserk. Ooh, oh, wait, bears. People call me Bear. People say I look like a bear. It's like, oh, Berserker Bear. Let me look at that. So it.
Welcome to the inner workings of the Chief's mind, right there. Just that's not fast forward. That's full speed.
Sorry.
I wish I had a hand clap sound effect or something, but I don't. They don't have those abilities, I don't think, on here. Well, that's definitely awesome. I definitely got to get some coffee. Like, I'm actually not working right now due to like the job I was doing is kind of like seasonal, and
Right.
it slows down and stuff. And I just need to focus on finding something better. So once I get back working steady, then I'm gonna definitely get some because I like to support my bros out there and all that good stuff. So I'm just gonna ask a few more questions because I prepared way more than enough, and some of the questions are irrelevant like that. So we'll just go with this here. What does Bob the Cigar Guy in Chief have in store for 2021?
Ooh, well, the things that we can tell you are we don't know. We have some things on the burners that we can't get into, just out of exclusivity and private. But we had so much planned for last year. We had planned for 3 barn smokers. We were going to go to Kentucky, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. And unfortunately, none of those were able to happen. We had thought about, what if we go to the trade show? That didn't happen. So this year is kind of, with the stuff that we hope works is really dependent on, how the United States treats COVID going forward. Will states allow Drew Estate to host events? Will Drew Estate allow Drew Estate to host events?
Yeah.
But also, there's some other, events out there that are kind of going the virtual route. So I don't think we really have anything planned for those, just because we do virtual every single week here on the Bob Cigar Guy YouTube channel. But I guess our main goal most probably is to just continue being us, charging along, providing a space for people to come hang out and be drama free and full of family cigars and a good time. Getting good guests on for Chief Talk, having some, that we had the studio, to a point where it's comfortable in the winter and the summer. It's a great smoking space to just come hang out. People are starting to either not take COVID seriously, or they've had it once and they're immune to it, so they're more willing to travel and get out here and hang out. So hopefully we get some more in-person, studio time with some people and some companies, and hopefully, if all works out, travel and do some barn smokers or trade shows or cigar events. We got Smoking in the Carolinas, which is not too far up the road from us. I know the Great Smoke, it's all virtual this year, but companies are going to do if everything opens up, because I know Drew Estate, Steve Sacco with Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust, John Huber with Crowned Heads, Nicholas Melillo. I'm sure they are all just waiting to just bust and say, hey, let's do this thing where we can all hang out together and smoke cigars. So
yeah, definitely.
And if I win the lottery tomorrow, we'll do a whole lot more.
If you win the lottery tomorrow, bro, fly me out.
We'll do a whole lot more. So that's for sure.
Fly me out, because I ain't got no job right now. I ain't got nothing to do. Fly me out if you win.
If he wins the lottery tomorrow, I give you a personal guarantee that we'll fly you up here.
Heck yeah. Hey, I mean, I could leave from Melbourne Airport. I could go to Orlando Airport, whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm good.
If he wins the lottery tomorrow, we'll send a private jet to you.
You sure are selling my ticket pretty
That's a
well
lot of
there,
money,
buddy. That's my ticket.
I mean, don't go the private jet route. You know what I'm saying? I'll just fly me first class. We're good to go.
No, I'm gonna hook you up, but he's trying to take my shine, is what he's doing.
What's $1 million?
He's trying to give away my stuff.
What's $1 million?
I might take it out of your cut.
But yes. So yeah, I'm gonna ask one last question here, and it's something cool, creative, and might make you think a little bit. But when you're relaxing and smoking for personal enjoyment, what cigar are you smoking, and what music are you listening to, and what are you drinking with your cigar? Bob, you go first.
All right. First of all, we're not listening to the same music. His cigar and music list is not my cigar music list. I am very diversified. I can listen to country. I can listen to 80s hip hop and rap, some 90s. That once you get past that, I really ain't got nothing to do with it. I can also deal with the old hair bands. You got David Allan Coe, you got Van Halen, you got AC/DC, you've got all the other greats there. It's a melange and a mix, as well as Billy Joel and the Commodores, for goodness sakes. What am I going to be drinking? A good chance I'll be drinking coffee. If I'm drinking brown spirits, I'm really digging this Horse Soldier 12-year, I think it is, 13-year. That's phenomenal. Jefferson's Ocean is fantastic. Angel's Envy is really good. The tequila, the Patron Añejo, it is amazing with cigars. I just found that out a month and a half ago. What am I going to be smoking? Something full, something with hints of leather in it, something that I'm going to have a nice finish. It's just going to hang for a while. It's got a little bit of spiciness to engage. Some of the ones that I could put in there would be any of your Ligas. It could be the El Huense Maduro. It could be the Wise Man H90. What is it? Not H99. The Tabernacle Seed number 142. Something that's full. It could even be one of the Corona Davidoff series, the Davidoff Tampa or the Davidoff 20 exclusive. Those are both fantastic. But I get into the more full cigars most often. Or I'll pick up a plush or a Cuba Arte or a Leather Rose, something like that. If I want to mix it up a little bit, I could jam on that. And it depends on who I'm with and if I want to be thinking about stuff or doing stuff. I've got a shop right on the other side of this door, and so if I want to go build something or create something, I don't want to smoke a cigar that costs me $20. I want to smoke something a little bit less that still gives me good flavors.
A lot of good combinations there. All right, Chief. If you're same thing. What are you listening to? What are you smoking? What are you drinking with that?
So I commissioned myself to make myself like a cigar lounge playlist of what I thought my side of the studio, which is more lounge. As you can see, there's a definitive line break of color behind Dad's head. He's got his military backdrop over there, and my side is becoming this old world, old school lounge. Currently still working in progress and in process. So I was thinking, I would really like just sitting back, relax. What is cigar smoking to me? Sitting back, relaxed, hanging out, having a good time. So I just kind of started listening to some old school R&B, some 70s jams, some even some 60s and 50s stuff, a lot of blues and jazz. So just a couple artists are B.B. King, Otis Rush, The Temptations, Derek and the Dominoes, Jimi Hendrix, Frank Sinatra, Eric Clapton, Chris Stapleton makes it on there as well, Buddy Guy. What I'm drinking when I'm smoking cigars, it's either one of the cans of a fully stocked refrigerator in the studio of Dr. Pepper, or coffee for the most part. don't mind drinking. I just don't do a lot of it. When I'm over here, if I come over for the day, because this is over at my mom and dad's property, if I come over here for the day and I don't have to drive for a while, I'll bust into my most favorite bourbon whiskey, this Buffalo Trace. It's my favorite in the whole entire world. I'll bust into that. Or the Patron Añejo, that's really good. That tequila, that's a really good,
amazing
tequila. And then I'm just, when it comes to smoking, I really tend to lean on that Drew Estate wheel, whether it be the legal line or going over to Hoy de Nicaragua, going into the acid line. More times than not, I'm really sticking to like the Undercrown Maduros, the Undercrown Shades. I love getting into the KFC sweets a lot. I'm more of a savory kind of cigar, but kind of cigar guy. But my wallet says don't smoke all my ligas. I would like to smoke. I would love to smoke all my ligas, but I would be out of ligas quick if I did that. But I do focus a lot on Drew Estate. Now, more recently, I have started to branch off into a lot of Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust. The Sober Mason
can't go wrong with them.
Absolutely.
Not at all.
But also because of in the Foundation and the Menelik and the Havana Seed Tabernacle, I've been smoking a lot of those as well. So I really don't branch out a lot when it comes to, and that's a fault to me. Again, I'm not a cigar reviewer, so I don't have this stigma where I feel like I need to push myself to smoke a different cigar every single time. Sometimes I'll sit down and smoke 2 factory smoke Maduros, Churchills back to back, just because I enjoy that cigar and I want to enjoy my time. But if I'm not in the studio smoking cigars, I'm usually next to the skill saw, a plunge router, and a couple drills, building the table or something. Or in the truck. That's usually my mobile cigar lounge is where I smoke most of my cigars, especially right now with it being chilly in the northwestern side of South Carolina.
Yeah, shoot, I like to smoke while I drive. Like that's like my favorite thing ever. It keeps me calm on the road, and I'm just lean back. I play my music loud. I'm just straight chilling. So
I like the looks I get when I'm smoking a cigar, because it's either one of two things. It's that dude is a boss smoking cigars, or oh my gosh, I cannot believe he is smoking that big death stick.
Absolutely. Man, I went to a concert on Saturday, and at the place it's not like a club or whatever, so I figured, hey, they're not going to allow smoking in there, and I was wrong. Like they basically trapped that place out. It was Trick Daddy in concert. He's from Miami, so Trick Daddy came and performed, and literally like all people were smoking weed, cigarettes, Black and Milds, all that combined together. I didn't have a cigar. I smoked a couple cigars at a lounge before I went out, and that was a huge mistake. I felt like my lungs were burning, and I'd take a bunch of people smoking a cigar in an enclosed space over that type of stuff, because I'm just used to cigars, and people think that cigars are the worst, but really they're the best. It's an all natural product, all that good stuff. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. It was a true honor to catch up with you guys, get some more of your story, ask different types of questions that I haven't seen people ask and all that good stuff. We'll chop it up for a couple minutes after the show and all that. And everybody out there that tuned in, everybody from Facebook, everybody from YouTube, everybody from Twitch, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you follow me on social media, and make sure you follow Chief and Bob the Cigar Guy. Matter of fact, throw out your social media for those who may not know, who watch later, who so they can follow you.
So it's Bob the Cigar Guy on the Facebook platform. It's Bob the Cigar Guy on Instagram, and it's Bob the Cigar Guy Cigar Reviews on YouTube. And then we have our own personal Facebook pages. He's Bob Finley, and I'm Stephen Finley. So, but for me on Instagram, most of my cigar stuff I post straight to the Bob the Cigar Guy account. But I'm also Beast Finley. That's where my personal collection of Drew Estate gets smoked.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get off of being live, and I will signal when we're not live anymore. Thank you guys for tuning in to Herf Zone Live. You have a great night. Peace out.